They are fearsome and iron bars are involved, just to let you know. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, the supermodel Kate Moss once said. Judging by fashion weeks in New York and London, a lot of her colleagues still agree with her. Now MPs like Caroline Noakes, who's the chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Body Image, are calling on the British fashion industry to put healthier-looking women on the catwalk. France, Spain and Israel have brought in laws banning models with a body mass index, or a BMI, of under 18. That's the definition of malnourished, according to the World Health Organization. Here, the average woman's BMI is 27. What's the social impact of all this, and how much do you care if your body doesn't match up to the ideal set by fashion? Tommy went to Croydon, the birthplace of Kate Moss, to find out.
Could I be a model?
Of course you can.
You've got the physique, you're tall, and you dress well, and you look well.
Would you expect to see a face like mine in a magazine modelling clothes?
Maybe a catalogue?
I think like there's a certain image and you don't really fit into that image.
Would you buy clothes that are on a really skinny model?
I would never buy that type of clothes because I buy clothes the ones that suit my body.
I want someone with curves, you know, someone that fills up the jeans, fills up the top, you know.
How do you feel when you see that guy on the front of your pack of boxers who's doing your pants a lot more justice than maybe you and I could?
Are you trying to say that my physique isn't what it perhaps could be?
She's a model and she's looking good.
How do you feel when you see really skinny models?
I feel offended because I'm an average person and I'm not skinny.
I don't think it's healthy being that slim.
They look underfed, weak, sick.
If you look around, you can't really see one skinny person that looks like they could be on a runway.
Why do models have to be slim?
Because who gonna like today's fat bodies? Who gonna like? I think models should be able to be comfortable in their own skin instead of like the dieting and all they have to go through to become a model.
So should the modelling world have people like me and you modelling clothes?
I think they should, because people feel more confident about themselves if they see other people like themselves modelling clothes that they can buy. Because the size 0, I can't buy that.
I think that would be more representative of the general populace, because I think most models are very thin.
I understand why they get beautiful people to be models. They know that when they wear the clothes, they will look good and people want to buy it because people want to look like them.
I feel quite sorry for the young girls that are up and coming because they're not a size 0 and they kind of want to wear the clothes. They don't look particularly good on them. So I think perhaps the fashion world needs to sort of take it more from the real world.
Tommy looks good, doesn't he? Those are the thoughts of some people in Croydon. What are yours? You can email, text, call or use social media to get in touch. Joining the panel this morning, Chelsea Jay, who's model and director of disability at Models of Diversity. We also have the writer and former style editor of Harper's and Queen, Peter York, joining us, and the fashion journalist and the founding editor of Huffington Post UK, Carla Buzashi. Welcome to all of you. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme this morning. Peter, I want to start with you because there was a lady there that says young girls aren't a size 0 and the fashion world needs to take more from the real world. Why isn't it?
Well, it can't take more from the real world. It's in the business of being unreal, of stoking up people's aspirations, and that's not wrong for an art. But it has to be mindful of the fact that some people might go balmy, and people who are very, very seriously ill, mentally ill in other ways, focus on that particular focus now, because
what do you mean?
If you are quite as ill as a serious anorexic, the incidence of dying is high, and it's a minority, it's an increasing minority, but clearly most people aren't anorexic, never get to be anorexic. If you put it alongside a disorder like obesity, where you can trace its origins, and you can trace the guilty men and women, fashion people responding to the idea of their idea of beauty is not quite such a conspiracy. I think that it's a trigger for people who are ill anyway.
So fashion is an art, and designers must be mindful of not using women who are mentally ill because they have anorexia. So too small.
No. What I mean is out there are people who are likely to be triggered by stick-thin models and all those things.
Right, okay.
And I gather that's changing. I'm told by fashionista friends that now, in the New York Fashion Week, what you had to do was have geriatric celebrities, tiny size models and very fat ones, so as to show diversity.
Right.
It may not be happening, but that's their bit of tokenism.
Chaser.
I'm really sorry, Peter, you lost me there. I was trying to understand what you were saying. So the first
I know,
part,
it's difficult.
the first part when you were saying that actually it's good to have to raise aspirations and have these models, but that's wrong because the raising aspirations to do what, be a size 0, be a size 2 size.
That
That's
wasn't what I was saying.
But that is what is on the catwalk,
Yes.
and that's not reflecting the diversity of body types. And actually, when you speak to designers and say why not, they'll say, well, we can't have a size 18, but why do they have to give an example at the other end of the spectrum? Why not a size 10, 12 or 14? I mean, it used to be 8, then 6, and it's like prepubescent sizes. And I know when I go shopping, the first sizes to run out on the racks are 10, 12 and 14. Why can't we just have a diverse body size? Because the impact of that is rising eating disorders, anorexia, mental health,
let me ask
anxiety.
Carla, if the average size is a 14 to a 16 in the UK, why go for opposite ends of the spectrum on the fashion catwalk? Why go for either very, very thin or very, very large? Why not put women on the catwalk who look like women?
A distinction between the catwalk and the fashion world at large. If you look at the campaigns for H&M, for Topshop, for Zara, by and large, they are using women who sit somewhere in the middle. I'd say probably around a size 10. They want the clothes to look as good as they can, but they also know in this day and age they need to appeal to that young demographic whose idols aren't super skinny models. They're the vloggers that they're watching on YouTube. They're the Instagram stars like Deliciously Ella who are actually raising this idea of healthy bodies as being aspirational. When they're choosing those models for the runway, they're not thinking about creating aspirational role models for young women. They're thinking about how can they make the clothes look best, and they're thinking of those pieces of clothing as works of art, as Peter said. So I think we need to make a distinction between the fashion world and what we see twice a year on the runway at Fashion Week.
All right, I want to bring in Eva Believer, who joins us from our newsroom studio here in London. And you are a plus-size model. What's it like in the fashion industry for models like you? Your size is around it. It's about 18 to 20, isn't it, Eva?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, I would like to use this opportunity and to express my respect and gratefulness for England as a country, because it's not a secret, I'm not English, I'm not even British. I came from a European country where, unfortunately, plus-size industry does not exist. There's 0 shops in the high streets or shopping centres. There's no catwalk shows, there's no designers. So basically, when I lived in my country 7 years ago, I left, I had even my T-shirts done with my seamstress because there's no plus-size clothing. Size 16 might be the biggest, and of course is almost smaller than, for example, plus-size retailers would do. So I'm very happy, and I congratulate England because this is a very good platform for plus-size model like myself. But in general, speaking in general, I would like to ask and respond to the question, what is the fashion? Fashion's purpose is not to promote, is to represent. And if today we have an average dress size, a woman average dress size 16, why would we see these skinny models on the catwalk? I mean, it doesn't represent the average woman. So I count myself as an average size 18 to 20, well, a bit bigger than 16, yeah. And I feel that we need this kind of thing. We need to see women who represent the real woman in real life in the streets.
But Eva, sorry to interrupt, but both Carla and Peter are saying it's not about a fair representation in society. It is about art, and what the designers are doing is finding the best canvas to represent their art. And that happens to be smaller models.
Yes, I understand. You know, I have myself master's degree in performing arts, and I know that fashion is art. But then is again a very big purpose to create arts for the much bigger women, because, you know, I have issues with the other plus-size models sometimes. We just discuss themes like that. That yes, we have plus-size brands, but talking about the quality, about the arts, about the, you know, fashion itself for the plus size, sometimes we can't compare, we can't compete with the straight size fashion, because as an art is not developed enough. So that's why we need to have big models on the catwalk with the properly developed designers labels and, you know, just to go forward with that.
Eva, thank you. Chelsea?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm very much on the wavelength that fashion is talking about what's current, yet it's so dated. It's not just, obviously, the discussion's generally been with regards to skinny and size, but it's so much more than that. Diversity is so much more than that, and there's more of a problem with the whole scale of diversity in fashion, not just sizes, but, you know, obviously with regards to me, there's no disabled models, there's no models that are, you know, really famous models that are Asian, or, you know, you get your tokenistic black models. You know, it's such a massive problem. It's not just size.
What is your own experience then in the industry?
My own experience is that I've only been disabled for 3 years, so I've seen both sides of the argument, really. And I've gone from being represented as an able person to becoming disabled, and then all of a sudden nothing.
So you were a model before you became disabled?
I loosely use the term model. I think that people throw that word out far too much. I was aspiring, certainly. I wouldn't like to say I was the next Kate Moss or anything like that. But yeah, I was really enjoying getting into the process and having photos taken, and, you know, and really feeling confident in my body. And obviously it is an art. You know, you're part of that art as a model, but all of a sudden, because I sit down, that's it, it's gone, and that's been taken away from me.
Peter, should we be seeing more people in wheelchairs, you know, like
not
Chelsea,
even
or just
necessarily
diversity?
in wheelchairs, but yeah,
more
absolutely.
diversity on the catwalk than we see at the moment.
The art level of fashion, as opposed to commercial fashion, big retail fashion, it isn't representative. Arts aren't representative. They're not a sunshine coalition. They're not expected to represent modern Britain in a one-for-one way like that. And if it don't, I mean, they're meant to make brands, to create the ideas for brands, who will then make size 25 dresses for people all around the world.
Right, so it's
and
about
very
creating
dull
demand.
size 25
Okay,
dresses.
all right. And I want to colour. If you look at it then as a business, which of course it is, and an enormously successful business, you know, the fashion business sells more than the car business does in this country. Plus size wear now sells about, it's nearly £6 billion a year.
It's a huge
It's
industry.
an enormous industry.
Yeah.
So should not the fashion industry be thinking cannily, OK, if it's about bringing more money in, then we do need to see more representative women
But I think
on
the clever
catwalk.
brands are doing that. Look at ASOS. ASOS Curve, a huge label within its smorgasbord of labels that it sells on its website. It puts a lot of effort into that, a lot of finance, a lot of money to make sure it has the best possible designs. So I think, again, it's this differentiation between what we're seeing on the catwalks, which is an absolute extreme. Everything about that is extreme. The set, the clothes, the models, and the bigger, wider business around fashion, where we are seeing that. But I would say we had Plus Size Fashion Week here in London the week before the official London Fashion Week. And I applaud that as an idea. But the problem was the clothes that we were seeing on the runway just weren't the quality that you see in normal Fashion Week. And I think if those plus-size designers want to be taken seriously alongside other designers, they're going to have to raise their standards. Having said that, before I get pulled in one kind of way, the High Street has brilliant, especially the English High Street, British High Street, sorry, has really good plus-size labels.
You know, Peter mentioned eating disorders a little earlier, and I wonder, you have a young daughter, don't you?
I do, yes, she's 13.
She's 13.
Yeah.
Where does she get her influences from about the way she feels about her body? Is she even influenced by the media in the way she sees
I'm glad to say that she isn't hugely influenced. She's a very confident girl. She isn't particularly reading the fashion magazine. Only if she's not well and we're going on holiday, then we'll buy a bunch of magazines. And she's just creating her own fashion. But I think that's partly because I've sort of bringing her up to be a quite confident young lady, and I think parents actually need to play a bigger role. Yes, we can kind of criticise the fashion industry, not just the fashion industry, media, marketing, celebrities, YouTubers, and young children are constantly getting bombarded with how, you know, you should look or behave, and that starts very young with giving your children a Barbie doll with very disproportionate figure. So that body image starts at a very young age, then they're going through puberty when your body is changing. So I think actually parents need to play a role, because we're not going to control all those industries. We can do our best to kind of make them kind of toe the line. But I think parents need to play a bigger role. So, for example, we as parents may talk to our children about bullying and drugs and knives and gang crime, but actually do we talk to them about body image? And I think we need to have those conversations. But also I think parents can give a negative perception to their children, because we're in a society now that we're obsessed with dieting. We're actually a narcissistic society. And if they see their parents on crash diets, and there's probably bits of our body we all don't like, and if we're saying that in front of our children, that can send out very negative messages. So I think parents also need to take some responsibility.
So it's not just the fashion industry's responsibility. I'd like to hear what people are saying at home. Tommy, what have you got there?
Yeah, lots of people saying really they want to see real-looking people in the fashion world. Trisha saying, fashion doesn't make me ashamed of my body. My eating habits do. 64% of the population are overweight. So that would mean over half the models should be fat. We've had this coming from Lee. Lee says, obesity is deeply unhealthy, as are the scrawny models on the catwalk. So models should be a healthy size, neither fat nor skinny. Ken's messaged us as well, and Ken is saying this. Oh, no, firstly from Ricky. Ricky says, do these walking skeletons actually think they are attractive? They promote anorexia and cause young girls to hate their bodies. And then finally, we have this message just come in, saying from someone anonymous on the phone call, saying, I'll read it out if it's not popular on the screen. It says, any designer that can make their clothes look good on a stick any designer can make their clothes look good on a stick. It takes real skill to design clothes for all shapes and sizes.
That's a good point. Thank you very much, Tommy. It'll cause young women to hate their bodies seeing these images. Just to pick up, the NHS does report that eating disorders in Britain have increased by 172% in just 10 years.
Yeah.
Does the fashion industry, and yes, parents as well, but does the fashion industry have a certain amount of responsibility to
I think that's
have more representative women on the
horrific
catwalk?
statistic, but I think that anorexia is a serious mental disease. I think that if you are in the throes of that, then seeing those images probably aren't going to help with your illness. But there's a fantastic article by Hadley Freeman I would urge everyone to go and read on the Guardian website. She's a fashion journalist who has suffered from anorexia herself, and she says categorically it isn't seeing images of models that put her in that state. It was everything else around her. She was deeply unhappy. She had deep-seated issues, and that was a problem. And those are the debates we should be having. And I think, you know, to that point that Trisha just made there, we have an obesity crisis in this country. The way to sort that is not to put overweight models on the runway. I think it is. I think we're in agreement about this. This idea of extremes is where the problem is, not the idea that you should have overweight models to counteract the super skinny ones.
Thank you very much, all of you, for those thoughts, and thank you for all your reactions at home too.